Hey there, my name is Dan, and this fella right here is Sean. And we're just a couple friendly neighborhood Bible teachers who exchanged our neighborhoods of Boston, Massachusetts, and Louisville, Kentucky for the West African country of Sierra Leone. Sean and I, along with our families, have learned so much over these past 4 years of living in this remarkable country. And our lives have been so enriched by meeting and joining hands and working alongside some of the most beautiful people on this planet. And we've received so many invitations to teach Bible studies that have resulted in us traveling throughout this relatively small but truly beautiful country. But there is one place in particular we have yet to travel, and that's the highest point in Sierra Leone. In fact, the highest point in all West Africa, Mount Bintumani. What started out as a very casual, hey, you wanna? Suddenly demanded a more serious approach as we began to do a little bit of research online, reading some reviews and blogs of people who have previously attempted this multi-day climb to the top of the mountain. So what do a couple of guys like Sean and I who have no previous experience with this sort of activity do in preparation? Jogging and push-ups, of course. I mean, what else could one possibly do to train for this? I think it's pretty clear to say at this point in the video that Sean and I really did not have a full idea of just how much of a challenge this escapade was going to be. But we didn't know that in the moment, and the best safeguard against abandoning a good adventure is just remaining ignorant to its difficulty. So, onward! Sierra Leone doesn't even have a McDonald's, and so the likelihood of us being able to find an REI to find the best possible gear for this adventure was just kind of out of the question. So that meant no Cliff Bars, no ultralight sleeping bags, and no premium hiking shoes. So we just kind of hodgepodged the best supplies and gear and equipment that we could find and hope for the best. These motorcycles of ours that we'll be using to get to the base of the mountain are by no means mighty, but they are faithful. These 125cc Indian-made motorcycles are reliable, they're fuel efficient, they're easy to maintain and quick to fix, and we've grown quite sentimentally attached to them over the past 4 years that we've used them. So I don't think I knew at the very moment just how valuable these last few embraces were going to be to me in overcoming some of the physically and mentally demanding days ahead. But you can be sure I thank God many times for the resilience and fortitude that this last moment gave me during the tough times ahead. This certainly was not Sean and I's very first motorcycle trip together, but this was going to be the most extensive and strenuous trip we've made, really by far. So let me show you exactly where we're going and how we're getting there. Starting in Bo, we'll take a dirt road up to McKinney, where we'll stay the night at a guest house. From there, we'll travel up a stretch of paved road to Kabbalah before starting the arduous passage through some of the most remote territory in Sierra Leone, before hopefully reaching the small village of Senekoro, where we'll park our bikes, sleep, and start our climb up Mount Bintumani. Let's pick up this journey in McKinney, since the previous day's ride to get there was fairly easy and uneventful. We left the hotel before breakfast to get as early of a start as possible, since we knew that the day's ride ahead of us had the potential of being the most ambitious ride we've attempted. And spoiler alert, it was. We made really good progress up to Kabbalah, enjoying the smooth tar roads and the mountain views. This was going to be the very last big town that we were going to pass through, and so we took full advantage of it by topping up our bikes with fuel, strapping on as much water as possible to our bikes, and then also getting a quick bite to eat. Now might be a really good time to correct a possible misconception. Because if you thought that this adventure really starts at the base of the mountain, you'd be sorely mistaken. Because before you can tighten up your laces and strap on your backpack, you first have to reach the foot of the mountain. And for this adventure, getting to that point is half the challenge. Even though our bodies ached from our travels, we had quite the long list of things to accomplish before rest could be given to them. Firstly, we introduced ourselves to the village chief and presented him with a gift, as is customary. Secondly, we negotiated terms with a guide to direct us up the mountain in the morning. We set up camp, walked about a mile and a half to a stream to wash in this very private setting, as you can see. We ate, filtered some water, and then finally, we slept. And although sleep was not nearly as plentiful as we would have liked, The one thing that were our prayers to God, thanking Him for safe travels and allowing us to reach our destination. The following morning started fairly early as we packed up camp. We also went through our backpacks. We knew that we'd be on the mountain for at least 1, maybe 2 nights, and so we tried to get rid of any supplies that were not absolutely necessary for that. We also secured our bikes and then loaded up and then got ready to hit the trail. There were definitely several disadvantages facing us as we set off. The previous day's fall on the bike resulted in some open wounds and bruising all on my left side. Less than ideal. Our inexperience showed itself with us making some mistakes with weight distribution between Sean and I that later caused us to have to play hot potato with gear and backpacks between Sean, myself, and our guide. And finally, the lack of accurate information from our guide regarding the distance and difficulty of our hike for that day made it difficult to make sensible decisions regarding our pace. In spite of those challenges, we set off with excitement and optimism regarding what lay ahead. This was still far from the summit, but the relief we felt at arriving at high camp, our stopping point for the day, felt like a true accomplishment. After catching our breath, hydrating, and getting some quick carbs and protein in us, we set up camp for the night. So this is our lodging accommodations. We have our faithful walking sticks here on each edge. We have a water filtration system, and let Sean introduce his own sleeping quarters.
Hey, we've got mosquito net on the hammock with the sleeping bag. It's going to be cold tonight, and this is in case there's dew. We'll see.
And mine is kind of a hodgepodge. It's not all in one like Sean's, but it's a separate mosquito net, maybe a 8 or 9 year old hammock, and my sleeping bag, and of course sweatshirt as the pillow. Since it would be nearly impossible to carry enough clean water up the mountain, we obviously had to bring our own water filtration method with us. So we decided to go a little overkill by using both a water filter and aqua tabs to give us as much confidence as possible that we wouldn't be experiencing any illness from contaminated water while being so far removed from civilization. My wife could definitely critique my clothes washing methods here, but it's pretty impressive how much lower my standards of cleanliness are when I'm halfway up a mountain. Because we didn't want to carry the weight of a pot and cooking supplies, tuna and crackers was the meal of choice. The rest of the evening was spent relaxing, recovering, preparing our bodies for the following day in which we would attempt to summit Bintumani and descend as much of the mountain as possible. But by far, the highlight of our time at high camp was laying on top of these massive stones, still warm from the sun's rays, gazing up at the most clear and bright night sky I had ever seen while discussing the grandeur of our God. As I'm editing this video several weeks after the summit, Sean has just informed me that he and Abby are being forced to return to the US immediately for medical reasons. And although the duration of their absence is entirely unknown to all but the Lord, this development has certainly added a layer of both melancholy and sweetness to this shared experience of ours. You see, as this adventure winds down, I can't help but wonder if another adventure is coming to an end, or at least being very rudely interrupted. Regardless, my time living and working beside Sean these past 4 years in Sierra Leone have been among the most blessed of my entire life. And the memories of this hike and all the other trails that we've walked together will only inspire appreciation and thanksgiving to the Lord, who has given me a friend who sticks closer than a brother.